Alright, today we're going to talk about the Cold War and the Civil Rights Movement. This is chapter 13. Alright, section 1 we talk about reform and reaction. Alright, we know reform and reaction. Reform is change for the better. We have 4 words to know: civil rights, integration, separate but equal, and the community college system. Like always, we're going to have our Cornell T. Make sure you write essential question over to the left. Alright, the essential question is: what happened in North Carolina at the beginning of the civil rights movement? Alright, intro to this section. Okay. Key figure: Frank Graham was the president of UNC Chapel Hill at the time. We know that UNC Chapel Hill was the first first college in North Carolina. He criticized segregation and helped the United States establish the United Nations. So he helped us by talking badly about segregation. Segregation is the separation of people or race. Right? The separation of race. Okay? Schools were segregated. Okay? Restaurants were segregated. Bathrooms were segregated. Lots of things that were segregated. All right. North Carolina at this time became divided. East was Democrats, the West was Republicans. East North Carolina was Democrats, and West North Carolina was Republicans. Alright, so we have 2 key figures, alright, in the 1930s and 1940s. Okay, Thad Young. He was your Secretary of the State. What's so important about this guy was he served 50 years as Secretary of State. This was the longest term in North Carolina ever. Next person was Kerr Scott. He was your governor. He was a farmer who worked to improve life for North Carolina. So both Thad Young and Kerr Scott were 2 key influential figures that helped North Carolina at the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. So segregation to integration. We just said segregation was separation of race or color. Alright, so now we're going to have integration. Well, first you got to know what civil rights is. Okay, civil rights was one of your words you need to know. And you should always remember this. Civil rights is the rights of all citizens. Okay, key word here is citizens. If you're a citizen of the United States, then you have certain rights. Don't matter if you're white, black, blue, green, yellow, whatever. Right? It's the rights of all citizens in the United States. Right? Blacks began to push the federal government to stop segregation in all schools, private schools, public schools. So there's no longer segregation. That's what they were pushing for. All right. So integration, another word you need to know. Integration is bringing different races into society as equal. Keyword being equals. Alright, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to bring everybody into society as equals? Well, a Supreme Court case, Brown versus Board of Education, they had the court case over, I think, 2 years. After 2 years, they decided schools should be integrated. Okay? So whites and blacks have school together. Alright? That's what the decision was in the Brown versus Board of Education. Alright? 1956, the Pearsall Plan allowed each school to integrate independently and gave parents freedom of choice with their schools. So parents had the freedom of choice with the schools. They got to choose. Okay? So Sanford, Civil Rights and Education. 1960, Terry Sanford was elected your new governor during the time. The community college system. This is very big. Community college system starts. The community college system is your 2-year college program. You can go to community college. You can specialize in a certain area, or you can go to the community college and get a 2-year degree, and then transfer to a 4-year college. Both of these are great resources. Okay. They offer a higher education rather than just going to high school. or going to straight to a 4-year, it makes it affordable and available for other people. Okay. Also, a sales tax and a food tax was added. All right. So here's your summary slide. What happened in North Carolina at the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement? North Carolina is divided east and west, Democrats and Republicans. Okay. Civil rights movements began. Right, it begins with the Brown versus Board of Education. Okay, that the conclusion was schools would now be integrated. 1960, Terry Sanford was governor, and the community college system has now begun. All right, this is your notes for section 1, reform and reaction.